In this short video, I will demonstrate how easily it is to migrate workloads from an on-premise private cloud to a public cloud. Now, running a Nutanix cluster in public cloud is no different, and as you can see, looking through our management plane, which we call Prism, that there are two clusters we can access. The first is an on-premises Nutanix cluster that is simply hosted within one of our own data centers. The second, again, is a Nutanix cluster that is hosted within public cloud, and for this demonstration, it's hosted in AWS. In terms of provisioning the cluster into public cloud, we can stand up a typical cluster, 3-node cluster in around 40 minutes. The process itself is fairly straightforward and driven through a step-by-step wizard which is available through your Nutanix portal. If you wish to understand more about this process, please feel free to take a visit to the Nutanix test drive, select Build a Hybrid Cloud option, and that will take you through the process from start to finish within our own demo environment. Now, back to this demo. There's an element of pre-staging that I've done, and as part of that, I've created a virtual machine. This virtual machine is currently running on the on-premises cluster, and if I select Launch Console just to prove that it is running, you'll be able to see it there. I've also added this virtual machine to a category. Now this category, in this example, where it could be the name of an application that the virtual machine belongs to, I've assigned two policies to that category. The first is a recovery plan. So how are we going to protect that virtual machine in the event of a planned or unplanned failure? And also a protection policy. So how are we going to recover in the event of a planned or unplanned failure? Now if we look at the protection policy first, you can see the primary location is the cluster on which it's currently running, one virtual machine, which is the on-premises cluster. The secondary location is the cluster within AWS. I've set an RPO of 1 hour, and the virtual machine will be recovered in a crash consistent state. If I close out of that view and then jump straight back into recovery plans, you'll be able to see there's a lot of activity as I've been testing and validating the configuration ready for this demonstration. But you can see at the moment, the primary location, it's running on the on-premise cluster. The recovery location is the Nutanix cluster within AWS. Yes, as I've mentioned, there are certain features that you're able to run, validate. You can validate your configuration to make sure that it's correct and it's going to work. And you kind of then, of course, test. So you can test a recovery of a virtual machine within AWS. I can now select failover. I'm going to do a planned failover within this demonstration. I'm going to failover from the local on-premises cluster to the cluster in AWS, and I'm simply going to select failover. I'm going to confirm. I'm going to select execute anyway because it's just within this demo environment, it's just an unsupported license, but that's fine. So I'll execute anyway. Now the first process is validating the configuration. Now because of the license violation I have within this environment, it has failed that validation process. But if we just give it a moment or two, you will see that it should start the process of failing over the virtual machine from the on-premises cluster over to the cluster running in AWS. And as you can see there, it's just started the process. It's currently at 0%. I'll stop the video there and I'll bring it back once it's finished. Now, as you can see here, the process has completed 100%. The duration of the process was 2 minutes and 17 seconds, and it has succeeded. Now, if I just close from this view, I can now go back, have a look at the virtual machine, and now the cluster has changed to the cluster running in AWS. I can launch the console. I'll log in. And the virtual machine has booted up, and as you can see, it's come with it's displaying the shutdown event tracker because it was recovered within a crash consistent state. Thank you very much for watching the video.